We as religious people still find ourselves longing to be there. Longing to be there. A dear friend of mine who was not raised in a religious family, but had like a couple people in his family who were really supportive, really wonderful component of his experience. I told him I'm coming to Cleveland, Ohio to talk to people dealing with the issues of being gay and being Mormon. And he says, why don't they just leave? I said, well, many have. But he's like, well, it's just not a big deal. It's just church. Go someplace else or just don't go at all. Because he never went to church. He didn't know. And I says, well, hey, you've got some people in your family who, give you crap every time you go to a family reunion. Why don't you just stop going to those family reunions? Stop going to those weddings. Stop going to those funerals. And he's like, oh, I never thought about it like that. For us, our religion is part of who we are. It is where we did Easter egg hunts and where we came together on Sunday and where we got in trouble for playing in the pews and what, all of these experiences are, extremely important formation components of my soul, and I can't just give that away. I can't just not do that anymore. I need the church. I need the church for the songs that I hear. There are times when my soul is full of anguish, and there are just a couple songs that I'm not able to be stressed out when I'm hearing. I need that. I need that component. Where was I at? Why I need the church. Oh yeah. A church is also a place where, one of the few places that we talk about philosophy. One of the things that make us different from animals is that we are creatures that have an appreciation for transcendence. The philosophical transcendent points are love, beauty, truth, justice, and existence. We are creatures that are we search for unconditional love. We don't find it very often, but we still search for it. God is unconditional love. We are searchers of that. And I pray that in the afterlife, then we get to experience that. But here on earth, we seek it. And we seek it unconditionally. And we continue to not get it, but we keep seeking. Animals don't do that. You will never see a lion worried about the fairness of the gazelle as he's still chewing on its, bleeding flesh. Doesn't care. Human beings, we have a bunch of vegetarians. We're concerned about the fairness of eating meat. And I still eat meat, but I'm still, every so often, I'm like, God, maybe I should eat a chicken that gets to walk around and not once in those little cages. And, that is a component of being a human. That is a component of being a human. We talk about existence and love and beauty and truth. We have art. I don't think chickens have art. I don't think. Maybe they do. I might be wrong. But church is a place that brings that to us, that brings this point of discussion of love, beauty, truth, strength, love, beauty, truth, existence to our conversation. And we need to appreciate that. We need to thank them for that, for getting us on that conversation. That doesn't mean that we need to keep doing that. There are many people that need to leave their churches, that it is a dangerous and scary place, and we all know what our soul can take. We all know where our soul belongs. And if going to church is going to be an abusive experience, then I definitely support you not going. But I'm also very concerned psychologically about where are you getting transcendence? Who do you talk about existence with? Who do you talk about beauty, love, and justice with? Those are still important human components. So that's kind of, my little spiel on how we need to find our place in the church. How much of me can I put in the church, and how much of the church can I handle in me? But also as a component of why we need the church is, or why the church is sometimes, that's one of the things, is the church is a little bit rough to its gay people. The Proposition 8 in California showed us that the Mormon church is not big fans of same-sex union, to say the very least. I think that a big part of that, I was talking with some people today, and they said that that hasn't always been, that the real push for against homosexuality started in like 1950s, that wasn't a part of the early church. And the question is why? That's a good question. I'm sure there are many reasons. I think one is what I like to call multiple minority status. Being a minority, whether it's racial, economic, or religious puts you in a position where you're trying to convince the majority that you fit. And I was talking with a mother, an African-American mother, whose daughter had just told her she was gay. And how she said that, it says, my daughter thinks she's gay. She had just came to that component, so she was just coming into it. Her daughter was certain. But she said to me, she says, Joseph, it is a hard world out there being black, and it is a hard world out there being a woman. This is strike 3. And she was very serious. It's kind of funny, but she was very serious that it is hard when you have a minority status. You have to work harder. You have to accept that sometimes you're not going to get a seat in the restaurant, that you're going to have to, you might not get a job, and you're going to have to wonder why. And as we heap these one on top of the next, it becomes more and more difficult. And this poor mother had prepared her daughter to be African American. And she had done all that she could to prepare her daughter to be a woman. But she had no frame of reference of how to help her daughter be gay. And the only thing that she could do is try to pray it away. Maybe this problem can go away. There's nothing I can do about it, so maybe if I pray hard, if I talk to a counselor, if I get a counselor to talk to her, can convince her not to. And we know that that can't happen, but it's scary. I'm sure that a big part of the church's decisions to really get on board with the religious rights hatred of gay people is predicated on the fact that Mormons still have to do a lot of explaining. Just like our poor bartender last night, he just could not understand what a Mormon was and really probably had no interest in learning. It's that dismissiveness that you get to experience when you're a minority. It's the same dismissiveness that our families experience when we tell them that we're gay. I told my mother that I was going and doing something or I don't know what, and it was a mutual friend of mine. I says, yeah, you know that person's gay? She's like, oh no, I hadn't thought about that. I said, well, that's kind of the problem. You don't think about it, you don't have to. I do have to think about it. And yeah, several times I've taken her to like gay restaurants. She has no idea, it's hilarious. So I don't know if this helps or hurts. I just want us to, I don't believe that we're doing a lot of justice to the church. We're not going to be able to be very effective at bringing a union together, of bringing the church and gay people together, unless we have a mutual respect and some kind of understanding. For me, it helps me understand my church better when I understand that they're dealing with being religious minorities. And if there's some way that I could frame my experience as a gay person to help them understand what it's like, using their experience of being a religious minority, maybe then some good can happen. But I think that, again, it is a tremendous honor to be here to speak to affirmation because this is where the work happens. This is where the work begins. This is where we learn how to love ourselves as beautiful creations of God. And predicated on that, we're going to be able to make the changes that need to happen. And those changes are happening fast and in places we could not have expected. 10 years ago, if we would have thought, that gay marriage would have made such progress, I would have called somebody crazy if they would have said in 10 years, there will be several states that would allow same-sex unions at least. I mean, there's a tremendous amount of movement going on, a tremendous amount of scholarship going on. And that's happening because we are out to our family and friends and we're making them see the real face of homosexuality. Is that it looks like the person that I love, my brother, my sister, my baker, my butcher, my candlestick maker. And I will close with a quote from President Hinckley, who is one of my dear heroes. I place him in the same category as John Paul, just because they're both really holy and dealing with churches that are bigger than they are. It is not enough just to be good. We must be good for something. We must contribute good to the world. The world must be a better place because of our presence. And the good that is in us must be spread to others. This is the measure of our civility. So we are good people, and we are going to share that with other people and make them better people, and the world is going to be a better place. Thank you all very much. I love you, and thank you for having me.